starting to perhaps decrease. It's been very short, but perhaps.
Zoom and boom, everyone. It is 7 o'clock on the East Coast on this Sunday, April 5th, 2020. Welcome to episode number 42 of According to Spiky Dash. Spiky Dash here with you. I know it has been a very long time since I have done a stream, but let's get caught up. There's a lot to talk about in this episode. There's a lot I'm going to share my thoughts on. But obviously, of course, the leading thing is not just crisis here at home, but the global crisis we are dealing with in the entire world. And that is with COVID-19, with the coronavirus. I mean, really, at least for me, the normal that I was in, the world that I lived in forever changed on March 12th, because that was when the sports world was forever halted, which is a very big part of my life. That was when the NBA had its first positive test of a player, Rudy Gobert from the Jazz, that tested positive. And then in that moment, it was immediate shutdown, cancellation of everything. All major sports leagues halted. NBA suspended, NHL suspended, MLB not starting on time, MLS suspended, and the NFL actually has still started on time with free agency. They started league year on time, and they're going to have the draft on time, albeit virtually. But there's still a lot of debate as to whether or not the actual regular season will start on time. Golf events getting suspended or postponed. Tennis events, Wimbledon just canceled, and Wimbledon is very near and dear to my heart. Tennis tournament I watch every summer. So that was, but at this point, it's kind of become expected. From the moment that this all started, when first cases began to pop up here in this country, with me, I think maybe and I'm not just saying myself, maybe a lot of people thought this way. I was not really, I wasn't that fully concerned. Because I didn't know how fast this was capable of spreading. And I don't think a lot of us really knew what we were dealing with here. But once we realized that it was a big deal and a big issue, that's really when my kind of, preparation and tone about it, changed. I went from thinking, okay, this is something that's, not really affecting me, but, and really not affecting Indiana right now as a whole where I'm at. But eventually, as cases start to pop up all over the country, that's really I think when mid-March came around, like a week after, that's really when I started really kind of, taking things a bit more seriously. So I started taking more precautions. I started, doing, hand washing, sanitizer. My mom was giving me bottles of this like crazy. I have 3 bottles of soap in my sink. So I have been, doing that on the daily, while still having to do my job, because my job is considered essential. I work in retail. And so I am definitely one of those, they say, out on the front lines, while all this is going on. And I know that a lot of people during this have either been furloughed or laid off or lost their jobs entirely. And my heart definitely goes out to those people. And of course, to all those who have lost loved ones. And this has just been, it's been a painful thing for me to watch, because again, it's kind of like having that helpless feeling, we just have to stay strong through this and manage as best as we possibly can. and it's not going to be, I am very much a routine individual. Like, I have my routines, and it's been very, very difficult to adapt in the midst of all of this. Like, it all came so fast. My feed every day was getting filled with new information, and everything was just coming in so quickly. And then you find, the governor issuing these orders. Okay, the bars and restaurants can't do dine-in service, so now you got to order, do takeout or deliveries. And then it went to, now then my job started cutting, scaling hours back. Not cutting anybody's hours, mind you, but we're no longer a 24-hour facility. We're now, closing at 8:30 every night so we can, restock and clean and everything. And then the stay-at-home order that was, finally issued. And a lot of states have started to do that, and they need to, because it stuns me that there are still some states that have not enacted a stay-at-home order yet. To those states' governors, I say, what the buck are you waiting for? Like, I don't understand why it's not on a nationwide level. This isn't going away anytime soon. And the CDC has said, and Dr. Fauci has said, one of Trump's advisors has said as much. These next couple weeks for a lot of the country are going to be the worst. Like, they're going to be the worst of it. And so we really need to, do the right things over these next couple of weeks to slow the spread, to flatten the curve. All these terminologies that you've heard on social media or in the news, we really, really need to do that in order to successfully beat this thing. And, that's really all we can do, so keep doing, the sanitizing and the washing, stay at home if you can, by all means. Obviously, again, those of us that work essential jobs that are still open, we have to be out there and do our thing, and as hard as that is. But if you don't have a reason to go out, stay home. Social distancing, if you are out, 6 feet apart, that's what they recommend. And that's really the only way. And obviously, while the numbers are disheartening to look at and see them climbing up on a daily basis, it eventually will flatten out. And I'm waiting for that day. But here's the thing: it's not going to be quick. It's not going to be, the models that I have been seeing, at least for my state, the models are saying that they're predicting deaths even into the month of June. So really, in a realistic timeline, I don't really see any sense of quote unquote normalcy returning until July or August at the earliest. And maybe that might even be a bit of a stretch, but that's really, how we have to view it, and as tough as it is. But we need to do the right things now. And what's also disheartening is that, like, I still sometimes see on my feed, there are instances where the rules aren't being followed, and there were churches going against the rule, and there were again the fact that there's not all states that a stay-at-home order is baffling to me. I think there's like 11 states that still haven't done it, which is unbelievable. People still, and it just amazes me. Like, you see these people clamoring, I want normalcy. Well, you can't say that if you're an individual that is not following the rules. If you can't follow basic guidelines, basic rules, we're not going to get the normalcy. Like, it shouldn't be this difficult to follow simple rules to prevent the spread of this. But apparently for some people it is. And that's what's just really disheartening. But in the midst of it all, I always keep trying to be positive. I keep trying to have hope. I keep trying to maintain my optimism. I've always been an optimist and trying to look at the positive things. And again, as everything, even as there's so much negative and disheartening out there, I'm still trying to keep a positive outlook on things. And that's really what, I'm trying to keep doing things that, make me happy. You've seen on my social, on Twitter especially, you've seen me post the coloring pages that the mascots have put up, and I've been doing those. So my refrigerator is getting fairly full. So I've been doing those. I've been listening to music. Music has been very helpful for me through this, whether it's just my regular music, whether it's, pony music, whatever, that's been helping me through this. Just watching YouTube, videos in general, watching classic sports games. I've just been trying to, do what I can to, well, not be bored, because that's what I usually do here at home on a daily basis anyway, is try not to be bored. But also, just keep a positive focus, keep a positive outlook, do what I have to do to, make sure that I don't get it myself. But by the same token, looking out for my family. My mother has been so amazing through all of this. She has, at first she started, when this really started hitting home here in Indiana, she was calling me like every day. Now she's calling me much like every other day. Give me a little bit of distance, but she's still checking in every day with me, making sure I have everything I need. And she has been nothing short of amazing. So I appreciate her very much. I appreciate her always, but especially during this time, I am definitely appreciative of my mother. So I cannot thank her and John enough for what they do, and especially through this. So just yesterday after I got home from work, she was, texted me and said, I'll probably be asleep by the time you get home, but I, swing by, I made you, spaghetti, stroganoff, there's a bag of brownies in there, take it home with you. So even though I've been stocking up on groceries, whenever I can, at least once a week, the fact that she still able to, do that for me was absolutely incredible. So I can't thank her enough for doing that. So, the long and short of it is this a new normal right now? Yes. Are we going to have to adapt to it? Yes. It is ever changing. It is ever fluid. It is, and these next couple weeks are going to be absolutely difficult. But again, I always tend to, look at the positive, and the fact is that, the majority of these cases are mild. They're, I think last I read, like 80% of them are mild cases. What most of the media won't tell you is the recovery of this. They highlight how many people have died and the death rate percentage and all that, but don't tell me people actually recover. So actually a lot more people have recovered from this than anything. So that's what I try to highlight, is that people mostly recover. Is it tough to see the numbers? Yes. Is it tough to know that the next couple weeks will be a challenge? Yes. But it's at the same token, even though we're going through this new normal right now, the day will come, the time will come when everything will slowly start to come back. And it's not going to be quick either. I don't expect, a quick comeback. I don't expect that. I don't think, this is going to be, and I forget, I think it was one of the generals that said this is going to be like a 9/11 or a Pearl Harbor in a way. This is going to be a very slow comeback. It's not going to be, one fell swoop and hey, we're back again. No, this is going to be, played out over, at least a few months. It's going to continue for a couple more months, and then eventually, once the curve flattens out, and eventually then cases start to go really, really down to almost nothing, if not nothing, then I think slowly we'll start to see things coming back. So that's my hope. That's, I've put it on my handle, throughout the week. It went from, I was like one day at a time to hope for the future. And then based on Governor Holcomb's, statement, like I think it was like this in it together for Indiana, or in this together. That's why I went to all in together we win, because that's my hope. That's my hope that, I'm all in for not just my state, but for the country, to beat this, and together, to do what we have to do to be successful against it. That's my hope, and that's what I'm going to hope for every day, and that's all I can hope for. So it certainly has had an impact on me. It has had an impact on my family. It has had an impact on my friends, my coworkers. It has had an impact on everybody. But if we do the right things, if we do what we need to do to prevent the spread, if we do those simple things, it's not that hard. If we do those things, then we can eventually get back to a sense of normalcy. So we just need to do those things to be successful. So that's my hope. And I really needed, like, once it all started, like, because once everything got shut down and canceled, I in terms of content, I didn't have much. Like this right now is really all I have. Like because without no XFL, so no reactions there. The BattleBot season was upcoming, that got canceled. So I really right now don't have. So I felt like it was just time to breathe for a bit, take a bit of a hiatus for the rest of March. Just let this play out. And even though it's still ongoing, I didn't feel like it was appropriate at the time to dive back into anything yet until until it really play itself out. So I just felt like I needed time to breathe a bit, and before eventually got back into a real full on thing where I could catch up, do an update, have content of some kind for a show, because otherwise I would not have had much to go on, believe me, with everything getting shut down. So that's where I'm at. I hope, and I hope the same for all of you. I hope that all of y'all are navigating this the best that you can. I hope that y'all are, as I usually tell my customers, striving and surviving. I hope that you are doing that the best way that you can, the best way that you know how. We're in this together. We're in it for the long haul, and no matter how long it takes, I know I'm confident that we are going to emerge from it. We're going to get through it, and so just keep on thinking that. Just keep on doing the right things, doing the basics to prevent the spread, and acquiring it, and eventually we'll get there. So that's how I felt about that. So I just felt like I had to lead off with that, because it to me, that was basically the reason why I didn't do video all the rest of the month of March after March 12th, because that's when it really blew up. And so I just felt like, what, breathe for a bit, see what the next steps are. And then eventually, once I get more to talk about, then go back into doing videos. So, and I'm going to try to keep ATSD going. Like I said, I don't want to at least lose this. Like, I don't want to at least lose this show, because this has been a joy for me to do ever since I started it. Once I first went to Winning City in 2017. That's where the idea came from, and I definitely don't want to lose it for any reason. So I will definitely try to keep this going. I suppose so. I should say this time has given me time to keep working on my pony parodies, and I will say this: I am ready to get the recording process started. I've now written the complete set of the Wonderbolt parodies, plus there'll be 2 also bonus tracks that I will be actually uploading as well on my YouTube channel as well. That are not Wonderbolt related. Actually, those came out of completely other ideas that I'd seen on Twitter and whatnot. So, and I really like how they turned out. So those will be on here. A couple of the Wonderbolts ones that I really like will be on here. But I should begin recording here hopefully sometime this week, if not early next week. So stay tuned for when I put those up. Of course, the recording process takes a lot longer than the writing process, but I should be working on that very, very soon. All right, I know that's hard to transition from, but as they say, at least with at least anything you can do from home, this show must go on. So I will be doing that. So a lot of pony things, a lot of pony in this show. There's actually a lot going on, not only because of the ramifications from COVID-19, but there's always content out there. And as I've been doing, I've been sharing my thoughts on the Pony Soapboxes from Equestria Daily. And those have always been posted, and I always get a kick out of reading these. So I'm going to do that again. Oh, another thing I also want to share. I also recently, actually just yesterday, I actually bought the entire Feats of Friendship comic series that was done, for the Student 6. Actually got that, just yesterday, and it should be, I think, coming in either later this week or early next. So I'm looking forward to reading that, because I don't have a comic store in my hometown, my small town, unfortunately. So when I see that things are comics are popping up, like, well, I'll never get a chance to read that unless I get it, online. So I really when I saw that the Student 6 were getting their own comic series, I knew I had to read it at some point. So I got it yesterday, or I ordered it yesterday. So here's hoping once I get it, I will definitely read it, and I might even react to it. So that would be very good as well. Okay, let's see. Pony Soapboxes. Okay, so okay, I think I did that one. I think there's one from March 15th and another one from March 26th. I'm surprised there hasn't been one since then. That's what, 10 days since then. Okay, so this one is from March 15th. This is fitting. Why the Young Six were a great addition. I totally did not know that. Total coincidence I'm wearing this shirt. I've had the Young Six on my mind all week, the past few days. Like I've had them on my mind. So that's fitting. Let's see. Where T-Rex, Cozy Glow, and Chrysalis were formed during the time skip. Who's the richest of the main six? Oh, that's an interesting one. Grandpa Gruff and Gallus, ? And there's no race between ponies. Oh boy, that one might take a turn. All right. Why the Young Six were a great addition. Of course, this one I will definitely agree with. Hello, Recreature. This is by Alexrio Pony Lover 95. So with my first soapbox, I talked about how the Pillars and Young Six should have more interactions with each other, and with some of the responses from that soapbox, it seems some people don't have too great of an opinion on the Young Six, not naming names. Hey, I'm not included in that. So while I'm not here to force anyone to change their opinions, I can at least try to convince you otherwise, or at least look at this group in a different way. So I'm a huge fan of the Young Six. Yay. I actually liked them from when they were first introduced in School Days, and had pretty good episodes about them. Some of my favorites being What Lies Beneath and the Heartswarming Club. Oh, yes. Both very amazing episodes. Yes, in fact, I just watched Heartswarming Club earlier today, because I'm watching a lot of my favorite MLP episodes back during this time. So yes, absolutely. Even episodes like Non-Compete Clause were decent in showing the best of these six young ones. Yeah, as bad as that episode was, Yeah, it did. It highlighted the students more than anything, even though it was bad that AJ and Dash were fighting with each other. So yes. And to me, they've shown the best of their kind when we didn't really have many examples of the non-pony races. Take Yona and the Yaks, for example, or well, more specific, Prince Rutherford. Rutherford's first appearance in Party Pooped, declaring war on the ponies because they didn't get the Yaks culture right. Yeah. However, Yona, when first introduced, was very cheerful and fun, showing not all yaks are destructive. She showed a different side of the yaks than what we were initially provided with. And that is very true. That's a good point. That is very true. Now, when I watch School Days, and I might go more in detail on this in a future soapbox, okay, I will definitely have to look at that. It really reminded me of the historical struggle in American education, when schools, just like with everything else in America, was segregated. And the Young Six minus Sandbar really reminded me of the Little Rock Nine. Okay. In which 9 black teenagers attended an all-white high school in Little Rock, Arkansas. The Young Six, minus Sandbar being the only non-ponies in the School of Friendship, most likely to face some problems with the pony students, who were only presented with a general view of other races. That's a good point, actually. That's actually really true. Going back to like Yona, when Yona wanted to meet others, they simply ran away from her. Although, to be fair, Yona was a little too friendly. And well, in the end, they ended up saving the day not once, but twice. This is true. The first time defeating Cozy, although with the help of the Trio Harmony, and preventing the loss of magic in Equestria. And the second time, because of what they have learned from the School of Friendship, managing to convince the rest of their kinds to aid the main 6 in standing up against Chrysalis, Cozy, and T-Rex. And as the last problem shows, have once again stepped up to save Equestria and earned a stained glass window. Funny enough, not for the first 2 times. That's an interesting point. Like, it took them saving Equestria 3 times to finally get a stained glass window. Like, what the hey? Like, wow. Maybe they finally had to graduate from the school just to get it. I don't know. That's interesting though. Now, I have many more reasons, these being just the top ones. I can go on and on, but hopefully I managed to present a more positive view on this group, maybe even help change your mind on them. I mean, that's well put. That's really well done. Again, not hard to say whether or not it will change people's opinions, because people's opinions are very, very hard to change. But I think it's a well said argument for why they were such a good addition. Absolutely. So yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. I mean, granted, I already liked them to begin with, but that's a well put argument. It's a well said opinion. Let's see. Were T-Rex, Cozy Glow, and Chrysalis reformed during the time skip by Aleximus Prime? So this is kind of a hypothetical here in a way, because we think they're in stone and we never see them during the last problem, during the time skip sequence. So one big complaint a lot of fans have about the finale is the villains weren't fairly dealt with, or they should have been reformed, as it seems the writers are building up for that in Frenemies. That is true. Like, I think a lot of people thought that way when they almost became friends, and then Chrysalis quickly ended that they were kind of, I could see that. I could see the build, maybe people go, they're building up to that. They're going to get reformed. Yeah, maybe. Well, some have argued otherwise. I do feel bad they had to be turned into stone, and think that Celestia, Luna, and Discord are a bit too cruel in doing so, even if they did kind of deserve it. Ever since the show ended, I think people more complained about the fact that they turned a child to stone. I think that was a complaint I most saw. Like, oh no, they did it to a child. Ever since the show ended, I always thought it would have been nice if the 3 of them came in during the Council of Friendship meeting with Luster Dawn and revealed to her that they had been reformed at some point and were the newest members of the council. That would have probably gotten a big reaction. That, especially from me, that would have definitely gotten a very, very big reaction. Maybe it'd show Chrysalis in her transformed state and a grown-up Cozy Glow. Oh gosh, yes, that definitely would have gotten a big reaction from me if I had seen Chrysalis in the transformed state. Jaw hitting the floor, yeah, for sure. There's a bit of evidence in the show that this could have happened. Oh, for one, when we didn't see my hypothetical idea in the above paragraph happen, we never actually saw their statue in the time skip during the last problem. That is true. We did not see that. We saw that the kind of main 6 got their statue, but yeah, we did not see it. That is a good point. We know that they were still in stone, right, as Twilight became the leader of Equestria, judging by that newspaper she was holding. Secondly, one thing that really stood out to me was how Twilight reacted before they were turned into stone. Did anyone notice how Twilight looked when Chrysalis was shouting at them right before Pinky dropped the giant cupcake? Her face seemed to say she felt bad for them and wanted to give them a chance. They had plenty of chances. I don't think one look is debatable for that. I think they had plenty of chances. Celestia and Luna were still in command, but we're up to Twilight. I feel she might have at least offered for Cozy to join them and then let Tyrek and Chrysalis go, since they were powerless to fight back. This might have made her look like a weak leader in front of everyone else, though. Yes, it would have, honestly. In season 5 finale, we saw Twilight give Starlight a chance. Yeah. She is the princess of friendship, after all, and although those three did cause a lot of damage, I feel she would have had much more merciful than the princesses in Discord. Okay, time out, though. These three had a history. Like, Starlight, at least, was kind of a quote-unquote a one-off. Like, she didn't have as much of a history as these three did. Like, I think you know, this is kind of my counter argument to this. I think those three had a lot more history over time than Starlight did. So I kind of question that thinking a bit. Perhaps a few years later, she ordered that the petrification spell be undone and the three of them be reformed by Fluttershy, much like we saw Celestia do in Keep Calm and Flutter On. Reforming them would be no easy task. That I agree with. Most seem to believe Crystals would be the most difficult to reform, which is probably very true. I would say so, because she's probably had the most chances of any of them to reform. Gosh, Twilight gave her a chance. Starlight gave her a chance. She was the one that deflected the three of them's chances from getting it. Her mind was just so bent on revenge against Starlight, revenge on her hive. Like, her mind was just so scrambled beyond belief. I really, and I've said this before and I will say it again, I really did not see a scenario where Chrysalis would ever reform. Like, as great as it would have been to have seen her transform form, I say that from the last one that was posted, it would have been so hard to believe. Like, I genuinely would not have thought that would have even been, I really didn't see a scenario where that was even possible. So I agree with this poster, in fact, that yes, she would have been definitely the most difficult to reform. She was the one who told Tyrek and Cozy that friendship is a disease, after all. Yes, that's right. She used the word disease. Either way, the fact that the writers never bothered to answer this question just leaves more room for us to make fan fiction about it. Get cracking, writers. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Honestly, yeah, there's a lot of speculative things that the last problem really didn't tell us, and a lot of things the show didn't answer in the end. So, and certainly that is one of those things. But again, I find it really hard to believe all three of them again, especially with, like I said, I couldn't see a scenario where Chrysalis. Could I see Cozy being reformed? Absolutely, I could. Could I see Tyrek? Again, maybe a little more difficult, but yeah, I certainly could. But Chrysalis, I could not see a scenario where that could even happen. I don't know. Then again, Starlight did think Pharynx was a lost cause, and he eventually turned around. So I don't know. I mean, it would certainly be a mega surprise if it did happen. But again, maybe that's for fan fiction to debate. I don't know. Okay, Grandpa Gruff and Gallus, ? By Toad256. What is the relationship between these two griffins? Does Grandpa Gruff care about him? I'm not sure. Yeah, it's very hard to tell, really. During school days, Gruff was Gallus's guardian. We know this, and also Gruff was willing to go to war just because he was missing. That is true. Then in Hearthswarming Club, you learn that Gallus is an orphan, so Gruff was like tying a loose end when he sent Gallus to the School of Friendship. In Drag and Drop, you learn a little bit more about him from Gabby. Apparently, the old bird sends letters to Gallus asking for a lot of updates of how he's doing. So again, that kind of makes the sense that he does care about Gallus. But that until the episode after it. A horseshoe and gives us contradictory elements from the Gruff and Trixie fight. Gruff's words, Gallus doesn't need to know I'm proud of him, and certainly doesn't need me trekking all the way from the Ponyville. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of continuity, I guess, quote-unquote, errors when it comes to this. These are good points. And during the fight, you can see that Gallus had a sad face on him. At the end of the episode, no creature ever stood up for Gallus like Trixie did to Grandpa Gruff. So does Grandpa Gruff care about Gallus? I don't know. I want to see what you others think. Yeah, this is a hard one to tackle because, again, the points made in that are vivid and well defined. They're gosh, from one episode to then says, oh yeah, he sends letters to Gallus all the time, to then the very next episode after the fact in the parent teacher conference with Trixie that he doesn't need to know I'm proud of them. I don't know if that was just a continuity error by the writers or what, but it definitely seemed to just throw the last episode right completely out the window. So in answering the question, does he care for him? I think to some extent, but not as like a full on, obviously, Gallus even mentioned as much in the Heartwarming Club, it's just his name. He's not naming any Griffin's actual grandpa. He's just kind of the, I guess, maybe, fatherly figure to many of them in Griffinstone, because of his age and how long he's been around. So I think he does care to some extent, but not as like a full on, father or grandfather or, what have you. I think he certainly, when he needs to show it, he does, but it's not something that's continual all the time, if that makes sense. I think to some extent he does, but not 100% of the time. So it's either that or it's a continuity error. That's really the only way I can view it. There is no race between ponies. Flare Gun 45, one of the most popular writers in the soapbox, and definitely writes some controversial stuff on here. So let's see what we've got this time. Lately, what's been bothering me is the wrong use of the term race in Ponies 2. My motto goes, there's no race except the kind with the finish line. It's actually really well said. You know what race means? Species. Ponies, dragons, yaks, griffins. Yes, those are different races. But the equines, earth ponies, unicorns, pegasi, changelings, kirins, they're all the same species. They're all horses. They just evolve differently. To know whether or not is because of environment or temperament of their original equine states, but they're not different races. If the ponies just knew they weren't different races, there wouldn't be racism. They could look at their physical differences as no different than eye, hair, or coat colors. I don't know how their prejudices even started, though, but I'm sure it was taught by some powerful, greedy force. What we see in the history books might not be the entire truth. I'm sure you get where else I'm getting at with this. Yeah, okay. I can definitely see that. I mean, yeah. So the way they used it in the show, I guess, was very much incorrect when they called them pony races. Yeah, they're all ponies. Yeah, I can understand viewing it in that regard. So I really can't disagree with that point too much. That's actually very well said. So I can agree with that. Finally, in this one, who's the richest of the main six by a shy brony? Aww. Taking a break from some more serious soapboxes, LOL, right after the one that was posted. I'm pretty sure, did EQD, did you do that on purpose? Let's instead try to turn to what pony has the most wealth. Honestly, of the main six, even before I read more into this, if I had to guess, I would say it'd be probably close between Applejack and Rarity, like at least to me, just from what they do. Before we begin, there's two important things to consider. One, I'm going to be looking more at who has the most net worth, not so much as who has the most bits per se. Secondly, we need to pick a time frame. For this soapbox, I'll be using the time right before season 8 begins, since frankly the school friendship just complicates everything. That is true. Like teachers getting paid. Yeah, do teachers get paid? Is there tuition? Does the school receive subsidies from the central government, etc.? Going from least to most wealthy, we all agree that Pinky is the least. Her jobs as baker and babysitter don't really sound like the kind of jobs that rake in a fortune. Although it makes you wonder how she's able to afford all her party trinkets and the party cannons. Don't question it, right? We don't want to question it. Next up is Fluttershy. With all the animals Fluttershy cares for in her animal sanctuary, Fluttershy must spend a good chunk of bits on necessities like food alone. The tricky part is learning what exactly Fluttershy's occupation is. We know she takes a big part in pet adoptions, but it's hard to see how exactly that pays for everything Fluttershy needs. Still, the fact that she owns a home is enough for me to rank her higher than Pinky. That is true. That's a good point. Twilight is the hardest to place. We know she is the town's librarian, but that doesn't seem like a high-paying job. Maybe the town of Ponyville is a princess tax they pay to Twilight every month? Yeah. Because of the ambiguity of Twilight's wealth, I placed her right in the middle, though I think there's an argument that Twilight is more wealthy than she lets on. That could be true. Applejack is next. Wow, I'm surprised I actually have her third on the list. Wait, Rainbow is more rich than Applejack, unless she's taking in her Wonderbolt's position. Maybe that makes more. Okay, that might be why. I didn't think of that, but yeah, that might be why. Obviously, Sweet Apple Acres rakes in a lot of money, particularly from cider season and Zap Apple Jam sales. The farm itself is surely worth a lot of money. What keeps Applejack as the third richest one, however, is the cost to maintain the farm. Okay. The primary reason Applejack wanted to go to the gala was to earn money for her family, which is also another point. Applejack has to share the farm's profits with her whole family, another barrier keeping Applejack from really getting rich. Yeah, that's definitely true. We now come to the final two, Rarity and Rainbow Dash. Both of these ponies could easily take the top spot in my opinion, but this is where condition 1 comes into play. Rainbow almost certainly has more physical wealth. She already had a mansion before becoming a full-fledged Wonderbolt. Really? Could you really call what she had in Cloudsdale a mansion? I really don't view it as that. I don't know. However, Rarity has 3 stores across Equestria, 2 of which are in major cities. Having her well spread evenly helps ensure Rarity still has an income. If Rainbow gets injured and can't perform her jobs, she loses money. If Rarity loses a store, she still has 2 more to earn money from. That's why I placed Rarity, as the wealthiest pony in the main 6. That I agree. That makes sense. Yeah, I definitely that's all very sound analysis. That's really good. Good job, Shy Brownie. That's probably my favorite one of that group because that's really sound analysis and really, really thought out, thorough diligence in that. So good job. Really, really good. Okay, let's look at the one from March 26th. Let's see. This one has the question of immortality, not immorality. The question of immortality. Why Apple Spike is better than Sparity? What? Let me guess. I bet there's going to be some Spike at your service thought in there in that one. The unsung hero of Canterlot, question mark? Ooh, okay. The Royal Knights of Harmony. And the proper ending Diamond Tiara deserved. Oh, that'll be good. Like she really didn't get a real end to her story arc, did she? I think a lot of people agree that she really didn't. Okay, the question of immortality by, again, we have Alexa Rio Pony Lover 95 here. Hello, every creature. So this is a question I'm sure a lot of us have been wondering about alicorns, if they are indeed all immortal or only in certain cases, in which some of them are immortal and the others simply have a longer lifespan. But let's dive down into each of them and, well, what I think their state is. First off, Celestia and Luna, the first natural-born alicorns, have well lived for more than 1,000 years and don't look a day over, well, however old their appearance is supposed to be. And, well, of course, having lived that long, I think it would be pretty safe to say they're indeed immortal. I would probably agree. Moving on to our third alicorn introduced in the show, Cadence, the niece of Celestia and Luna. Her state is a little more unclear because we don't know her past as much, only in the comics and, well, fan works, even then it's few and far in between. Yeah, we really... See, and again, I agree with Silvercool on this. We really don't see or know much about Cadence and Shining Armor. We really don't. And that's sad because they were the first ponies I ever saw from the show when I started watching in season 3. which is why I got the Shining Armor plush, because they were like, I owe them to me liking the show because they were the first ones I saw on screen. So, and we don't really know a whole lot about them. Let's see. However, we're going to say that maybe Cadence doesn't have the same immortality gifted to her as Celestia and Luna, and this is a limited amount of time, but has a longer lifespan, of course. Right. I agree with that. And now our known main character, Twilight Sparkle. I think her state is a little more clear than Cadence because unlike the other Alicorn, we got to see Twilight's transformation from Unicorn to Alicorn. However, we don't know if Twilight has immortality, but I would say she has much more of a chance to have so. Yeah, especially now she's the ruler of Equestria. It was Celestia who did transform Twilight, and Will had infused something within the Unicorn, maybe the gift of immortality. And well as the last problem showed, of course, Twilight has very much grown to Celestia's size, much likely Twilight does have unlimited life in her. Which is why people keep making the running joke, Twilight's going to outlive her friends. You know, you can kind of see that in the last problem, too, when, you know, her friends have all the bags under their eyes. And lastly, to our first natural-born Alicorn, since Celestia and Luna, the daughter of Cadence and Shining Armor, we're talking about Flurry Heart. Being natural-born like Celestia and Luna, she may very well have immortality from birth. However, there's a chance she doesn't, having come from Cadence, who may or may not have it, and Will, a unicorn father, who does have a limited amount of time. And what we don't know about Celestia and Luna's parents, clearly they've had limited lives and have passed. So I'll say there's a 50-50 chance of Flurry Heart having immortality between Cadence and Twilight. What do you all think about the state of each Alicorn, if they are indeed immortal or not? Well, I would certainly say Twilight, yes. I mean, obviously, Celestia, Luna, and Twilight would all say yes, because they've all been rulers of Equestria. So they, and Twilight is now. And they would, so I would think, I agree with that, and that yes, that they do. Cadence and Shining Armor, again, or not Shining Armor, but Cadence at least, again, I agree with that it's very, very hard to tell because we don't have much of a backstory. So, and we didn't see her transformation. We really don't know how that happened. So, again, I think I kind of agree with the 50-50 thing. It's very up in the air. Flurry Heart, though, again, with being born one, I don't know. Again, she makes the point here that, you know, that she was born from, you know, Cadence and Shining Armor, and Shining Armor we know is not. So I don't even know if it's 50-50. Like that might be a little bit, you know, lesser. Being born in Alicorn, I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Is it bad that I would think Flurry Heart is probably more immortal than even Cadence? Because she was born one and didn't have the transformation? I don't know. But then again, we don't know that Cadence was necessarily transformed either. Well, no, we had to, because she wasn't one when she was babysitting Twilight. So I don't know. I think Flurry maybe has a better chance of being immortal than Cadence. I don't know, because we really didn't see how Cadence got there. So I don't know. Just a lot of mystery surrounding Cadence and Shining Armor. That's the point of it. There's a lot of mystery surrounding those two. Why Apple Spike is Better Than Sparity by Double C. Though Spike and Rarity is among the most popular ships in the fandom, Rarity will probably not see Spike like that, but instead as a friend and brother. I think that's probably been made pretty clear. Rarity is better off either with Fancy Pants, Thunder Lane, or Ragamuffin, which I'm fine with either one. Who's Rarity linked to Thunder Lane? Certainly didn't see that in the Rumble episode. There's someone that Spike can hook up with that understands him better, and her name is Applejack. Spike and Applejack have shown many hints in the show and has grown popular after Season 3, Episode 9. Like with Fluttershy and Discord, Disney Fanatic 2364 showed how much Spike means to Applejack after saving her from the Timberwolves. Again, there's the Spike at your service reference. They're both hardworking in their respective field of expertise and are willing to help out their friends in need. They do have their differences. Spike knows how to lay back and have fun, while Applejack hardly at all. This is why fans portray Applejack and Spike as Tiana and Naveen from Disney's Princess and the Frog, which makes a lot of sense because opposites attract one another. Applejack and Spike can teach each other new things to improve on their daily lives while helping them become closer. Spike can teach Applejack how to find ways to make work fun and find time to relax. Applejack can teach Spike how to cook better, like a better apple pie, and how to stand up to yourself when someone pushes you and even your friends, like Twilight. There can be many things they can do together besides helping around Sweet Apple Acres and ambassador duties, and go to orphanages and enjoy the kids with toys and apple pies. Because they grew up orphaned but differently, Twilight can see them as a good example that even without parents, they can still find happiness with the rest of their families and the friends they made who can act like a family. There'll be many problems that they will face, but with their friends and family's help, they can overcome them. The obvious is what others would think of a relationship between a pony and dragon. The other is whether Applejack will move to Canterlot in order to be with Spike. It would be funny to see how Big Mac would react to see his little sister dating not only a dragon, but his best friend. The one thing that would be interesting is Applejack somehow found the rock that Spike used to defeat the Timberwolf King and make it into a necklace. Like the fire ruby symbolizes his generosity when he gave it to Rarity, the rock would symbolize his bravery when he saved her when all their friends fled in terror. While our friends would think it's weird, but Thorax and Maud would find the rock very special for it has been cared with love. So thank you, Disney Fanatic 2364, for making this ship popular. Okay. That one's a little, I don't know. I think that's stretching it a little bit, especially considering the last problem we see Applejack, I think pretty much well linked up with Rainbow Dash. So I don't see it. Yeah, I definitely, I don't see that at all. I think that's a bit of a stretch. The unsung hero of Canterlot. Oh, this is Shy Brony again. Okay, good. Especially after the last one, I want to, another good take. Good. I was watching a Canterlot wedding with Moonstrike recently when you brought up a great point. How did Canterlot know that the changelings were planning something? Okay. The first thing I thought of was Thorax. Could he have somehow alerted Canterlot to Chrysalis's plan? This is good. This is good stuff. That's a very good point. Well, it would be amazing if Thorax was the one to warn Canterlot of an attack. Is this theory even remotely possible? For starters, it's important to realize that changelings have a mind of their own. Though they are an insect-like race and live in hives of the queen, changelings are not part of a hive mind. Thorax would never be able to leave, at least though getting caught, the hive to end up in the Crystal Empire. This free will is important since it establishes that it's at least technically possible Thorax, or any changeling for that matter, can defy the will of Chrysalis. Now let's look into why Thorax may be inclined to alert Canterlot to the attack. We know that since his birth, Thorax was a different changeling. Always shy and weaker than the others, it's a good thing Pharynx is around to have his brother's back. Yes. Thorax would obviously hate taking part in the attack on Canterlot, as we clearly saw in that episode with Thorax and Spike. But we also know that he did take part in the attack. At this point, Thorax probably is too afraid to try and defy Chrysalis's orders, but that doesn't mean he has to do nothing. If Thorax believed the ponies were doomed no matter what, then what harm is there in hinting to the ponies what is coming? It wouldn't be so hard. He is a changeling after all. He would need to make sure he wasn't caught, though, as I bet Chrysalis would not tolerate traitors in the hive. This could be a way for Thorax to deal with the guilt as well. Sure, the ponies failed, but at least I did what I could to help them. Of course, it was the changelings, not the ponies, who failed, which results in Thorax questioning what Chrysalis tells them and ultimately leaving the hive. Granted, while I think it would be awesome if Thorax did tip off Canterlot, I don't think he did. The fact is, Thorax is a fearful changeling. It's hard for me to imagine him taking such a big risk to help out the ponies, especially since he's probably never had any real interaction with a pony until the invasion. If any changeling warned Canterlot of an attack, it was probably the one who was at Cranky and Matilda's wedding. Oh, yes, that's an interesting point, too. I think that's a different changeling from Thorax anyway. And I think it is. And I think I think definitely we could tell that. So, yeah, that's, again, all very good points. Like that is very well thought out, very good points in that. So, yeah, I think, it's possible that Thorax might have, but again, the point I agree with here is that, Thorax being so fearful, hard to imagine taking a big risk to help out. Yeah, considering he never had any interaction with the pony till then, that's a great point, and that's well said. So, yeah, they had to have been tipped off somehow, but yeah, I agree that I don't think it was Thorax. The Royal Knights of Harmony, also by Double C. They are Twilight's knights who will help the main six, the Pillars and the Young Six, to deal with the threat of Grogar and his monsters. The original knights were a group of unicorns who were led by Gusty the Great that fought Grogar before Equestria was founded. It was left unknown of more details about Gusty, how many knights were there, who they are, and what happened to them after Grogar was defeated. It is likely there will be 6 members, as they would be like the others, but it could go up to 12 members. I picked 12 because different stories depicting the number of knights from the Arthurian legend range from only 12 to 150 or more. So this is kind of like speculating on past equestrian history. This is cool. Another example, the paladins or 12 peers include 12 primary knights of Charlemagne's court from the medieval Chanson de Guest, Latin Song of Heroic Deeds cycle. So in order to become a knight in MLP, Gusty and her knights each left their enchanted weapons in stone, and only someone a peer of heart can pull them out like Excalibur. The members will be up to both Hasbro and IDW, but like to see Flash Sentry, Shining Armor, Big, I think they mean Big Mac, Sorin, Cheese Sandwich, Fancy Pants, and Thunderlane. Why Fancy Pants? Like, that's the odd one in that. Like, okay, I could see the others, but really Fancy Pants? I don't know. Flash Sentry would be the leader, since he would pull the sword of Gusty, because he has proven that he will defend those in need regardless of who they are. Another possible one is Squire from Gen 1, who is longer due to making their appearance and more character development. Okay. Each weapon is based on the user's personality, like the one Flash uses is based on the knightly sword, since Excalibur is based on its design. Each weapon holds a unique ability that gives the user either power, speed, or magic, but Flash's sword gives him unparalleled offensive and defensive powers, greater speed, and turns magical energy into raw power. If someone other than the chosen one tries to pick up the enchanted weapons, will be extremely heavy that even Torch would find it difficult. It'd be funny to see everyone try to lift even in a team effort and fail in exhaustion and pain. They have two mode sets. The first is standard mode with their armor much like the Royal Guards, and when understanding friendship, their armor changes into super armor mode. As a leader, Flash gets a third armor form like the Battleizer the Red Rangers uses in the Power Rangers franchise. When the Knights aren't fighting monsters, they go out as super knights. Discord would teach them friendship lessons since the finale, but the Knight can see through him because of all the stories the main six told them. When Grogar is defeated, they return their weapons to the respected stones and restore peace to Equestria. That's really cool. Okay, I gotta admit, that at least the idea of that is really cool. Like that's really neat. So I like that. I really like that. That's actually really cool. That's a cool idea. Fanfic writers, get on that, because that's actually really cool. That really neat. All right, I think this is the last one here. Yes. Okay, this is the proper ending Diamond Tiara deserved. This is also by Alexria Pony Lover 95. I think most of you will agree with me that Diamond Tiara, once the former adversary of the CMCs and now no longer, needed at least one more episode after Crusaders of the Lost Mark, or at the very least a few lines. Yes, I will agree with that. I remember when I first watched Crusaders of the Lost Mark, it made me feel sorry for Diamond Tiara and made me very sympathetic to what she was going through, and that she was only acting like a bully because of the pressure from her mother. And when she finally stood up to her mother, it finally freed her to become someone new. And ever since then, we've seen her in the background of a few episodes, looking much nicer and happier, interacting with others. However, that's as far as it goes. No offense to the writers, but I feel like they were ignoring the potential of having Diamond Tiara play a major role again, and seeming like they have forgotten her. And that's too bad, because Diamond Tiara is a great redeemed character, in my opinion, on par with even Starlight. Not quite, but okay. I can sort of see the similarity. Luckily, the comics have touched on this in the form of the Spirit of the Forest story arc, in which Diamond, after the CMCs couldn't find a solution to saving the woods from being cut down by Diamond's father, Filthy Rich, was able to convince her father to restrict his logging. Oh, cool. And it was Diamond who reached out to the CMCs and figured out the solution on her own to solve the problem. It is by far one of the greatest, if not the best, showing of the redeemed filly. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because I felt the show had a chance to do something very similar, but alas, they missed a huge opportunity. So here's how I imagined a proper ending for Diamond Tiara. The CMCs help a cutie markless colt or filly who's under pressure from his or her mother or father, much like how Diamond Tiara was with her mother. After nothing seems to be working, the CMCs decided to bring in Diamond and help out, thinking that Diamond, who shared a similar experience with the colt or filly, would have the answer they're looking for. And it turns out Diamond had the solution after all, in which the kid stands up to his or her parent and gets a cutie mark. And maybe after, the CMCs could even decide to offer Diamond CMC membership. Maybe throw in there that the cutie map called Diamond Tiara herself. That would have been something. This is how I imagine redeemed Diamond getting the ending and the show that she deserved, and not just become a background filly. Yeah, that's really well thought out and really well done. And it's nice to reference the comics there, because again, no comic shop in my town. I don't get to read it unless I buy them online. So I wouldn't even have known about that. So that's really well done. That's very well done, and very well said. A lot of good ones in there. I'm so thrilled to see some really good insights in there. Even with the show again not going on, the fact that people are still posting these really good thoughts and really good ideas. That's why I really enjoy reading them and really delving into them. So gosh, some really good ones. Keep posting those on EQD. Keep doing it because as long as they keep having content, because there's some really good ones on there. So I'm so glad that they're still doing them. And I was really worried that that they were going to end it. They weren't going to have any more after the show ended. But there's some really good ones. I'm very impressed with a lot of those. So well done to all of those folks, and some really good ones on there. So well done. Okay, couple more things left for me to delve into in this episode, convention wise. So obviously, with the global pandemic happening, obviously it has affected conventions as well, and it's to think that last weekend normally would have been the weekend that I was in Illinois for Winnie City 2020, but unfortunately, as time went on and really the orders were coming down from the governor of Illinois to restrict the gatherings, and then went from like 100 people and down to 50, then to 10. It became very clear that Winnie City was not going to happen on time, and that is exactly what happened. And they eventually, but thank God, thank Celestia, thank whoever for the higher regency that has been not only an amazing venue the past few years since Winnie City started, but just being understanding through all of this and finding a new date to work with, because BabsCon in San Francisco, that got canceled. That got flat out canceled, not postponed. That got canceled. So because California has been, not that Illinois has not been hit hard, it has, but California definitely has been very much a major hit from this, and they were shutting down things in the early stages of this. Venues were getting shut down in the early days of COVID-19. So they were definitely taking it on the chin early, and even though now I will say this, and I'm sure there are probably those that might disagree with me on this, but hear me out for this. I think BabsCon really drug its feet a little bit in making a decision. Like they didn't cancel it until until it really got to the point where the state of California was nearly shut down. Like they kind of waited, and what were they waiting for? Like it to get better in a matter of days? I really questioned why they waited so long. But at least Winnie City was able to postpone it to July, to the summer. Now, granted, I will say this: is this going to be over by July? Again, that's my hope, and I'm sure that's the organizers' hope and Charlie and his team's hope that it is. But again, that is still, I think it's still very much up in the air. And, and he's even said as much right now. We're kind of in a holding pattern until, the numbers start to decline and things start to eventually, get back to normal. So right now it is set for the weekend of July 4th, July 3rd through the 5th for Winnie City. BabsCon is coming back in 2021. They did not reschedule. They did not say any new dates. They canceled it entirely. So that is not going to be happening, at least not this year. But I applaud Charlie and his staff as always for the due diligence they did in this to make it happen, to reaching out to the sponsors like myself, to get our thoughts on everything, and just to see what would happen, to be the next steps. Granted, it was not fun having a 4-day staycation by myself here because I originally got the time off for that weekend, not of course knowing that a global pandemic would happen. None of us knew that. But now I'm just really hoping that I get this time off in July because, if it does happen, if the con does go on during that time, because, I want to be able to, because I've put invest almost all this money in the hotel reservation into this, that I don't want to lose that opportunity. Plus it's so much fun. Like it's not only the con that's closest to my home, but it's like, again, it's like my Super Bowl. It's the one con I can afford to go to every year. I can't be like a lot of people in the fandom that can afford to go to these multiple conventions. I can't do that. This is like, it's like the NCAA tournament. It's my one shining moment. I'm hopeful that, it goes on in July, but would I be obviously shocked if it didn't, considering the state they're in right now? No, I would not. I genuinely wouldn't. And but I'm still hopeful. I'm always hopeful. And I just have to keep, again, positive and keep reminding myself of that. But then, now knowing that there's not going to be a BabsCon this year, and that Winnie City's moved to July, the next one in line is Sequestria Fest, which is supposed to be in late May in Ocean City, Maryland. But there's been a lot of issues with Sequestria Fest, and notably the biggest one is the big information leak that happened with them. So if you're not aware, if you've not seen the videos on YouTube and the Twitter and in Horse News and everything on this, Sequestria Fest essentially had a big issue where they left now, of course, there's different things to this. There's one that says that they left it, public, the information of like everybody, like vendors and panelists and everybody on Google Forms was completely visible for anyone to view, not just those, in the organization. It was available to anyone who wanted to see it, personal information. And there was tweets from Sequestria Fest saying it was actually someone who had been fired from staff, that it was quote unquote hacked, that it was numerous claims have been made. Most aren't buying that, saying that no, they were just, they were just stupid and just they didn't make it private. So there's been a lot of he said, she said, they said, it said, talking back and forth, and just a lot of uncertainty in it. So there's been a lot going on with that. Of course, there's now, been talk about whether it will be on time because of COVID-19. Me personally, I don't know. This seems like it could be another disaster waiting to happen. You never, when you're starting a new convention, it's your worst case scenario. It's your nightmare scenario that you have something like this happen. You don't. That's why at first I was worried about the future of HarmonyCon, because they had the swatting incident at the very first convention. I thought that was going to derail that forever, but they survived it and they are still very successful. So now you have this with Sequestria Fest and you wonder, are they going to be able to survive? So I don't know. To me, I hope they are successful, because, and obviously the big thing with them is not only this leak, however it happened, whether just out of, incompetency or a quote unquote hack, however it happened. The big thing for them is going to be, I guess, in a way, coming out of BronyCon's shadow, because they are doing this in the same state where BronyCon was held for so many years. And it's obviously going to be very, very difficult, I think, for them to, kind of step out of that and say, okay, we're not trying to replace BronyCon. That's not our aim. We want to just continue what they, were able to do for so long, and at least still have something here in the state of Maryland. So that's, I think, is going to be, that's going to be a big challenge in and of itself, but now it's going to be a bigger challenge for them overcoming all of this and the negativity that's being thrown their way. And then, of course, the uncertainty that comes with, are we going to have this on time in May or not? So there are a lot of challenges being placed in the way of this convention right now. And obviously you don't want a convention to fail. Let me be clear on that from, just not just my perspective, but I think from anyone in the fitness perspective. You don't want a convention to outright fail, because there have been numerous examples of those that have, for differing reasons. We know, you can say the three famous words everyone in the fandom knows: Las Pegasus Unicon. We know that was a disaster from the start. But then there were others that just weren't able to, sustain themselves, financially, personal differences within the organization, within the leaders, different agendas, different, what have you. There have been a myriad of reasons for conventions to just not succeed. But you don't want them to outright fail, at least not in their first year of existence. So certainly, while this is not a good look for Sequestria Fest right now, my hope is that they can, somehow overcome it, get past it, and, at least have a first year of success at the very least. And it might not be this year, because COVID-19 might end up, may not having it happen this first year. But I at least don't want them to, get too down on themselves if it doesn't happen, this year. So, I just, want to, obviously it doesn't excuse, my thought of them having to succeed does not excuse the mistake, how it happened, that happened. I don't, obviously I don't condone people's sensitive information getting leaked on a public forum or public server. That's horrible, no matter how you slice it. But mistakes happen. We're not perfect individuals. We're not expected to be, or at least expected to do the right things and not have that happen, but we're not perfect. And so my thought to Sequestria Fest is that, just, do the right things. It's a challenge. Yes. It's not a good look. Yes. But navigate it the best you can. And, if it comes, and just make the right decisions. If it gets to that point in May where this clearly is not in a, chance of ending yet, the crisis, the pandemic, not the fact of the leaking, but, in terms of the pandemic, if it is not showing indications of full on ending yet, then make the decision. If you can find a way to postpone it, great. If not, do a BabsCon and cancel. That's really, that's all you can really, do one way or the other. That's really what these conventions have to decide, depending on how long this lasts. If they have an opportunity to set aside a different date, they can postpone it to later in the year, like Winnie City did. Or if they don't have that option, and it just feels like there's no date that can happen, to interfere with anything else, make it, worse for them and not have it happen, then you do like BabsCon does and flat out cancel. So it's a lot for them to take in. It's a challenge in this first year for sure. But again, I try to look at the positive. I try to look at some hope for them. And I'm just hopeful that they can find a way to navigate this and in some way, either have it and have success, or if they don't have it in their first year, don't have it this year, find a way to make it happen maybe next year, and still at least have an opportunity to, get it off the ground and launch it. Because like I said, I don't want to see it fail. I don't want to see it fail, especially for, just because of, a mistake that, certainly could have been avoided. but for a mistake and then to get hit with a pandemic, all that happening at once, it would be a tough way for it to go. So I'm just saying that's my thought on that. But thankfully, in the midst of all of that, in the midst of conventions being affected, with all of this, there at least has been a group of people stepping up to at least give us some semblance of a normal convention on Discord, on the Discord servers. If you're a Twitter user like I am, you've probably heard of PonyFest Online and how a big success it was just a couple of weekends ago. Actually, it was on the Saturday that I was supposed to be in Illinois originally for Winning City on March 28th. And let me tell you, I was not able to be part of that because actually I didn't really even find out about it till later in the weekend. So I didn't even know it was a thing until I see others, tweeting about it and posting about it. So then I of course then, actually got a Discord server. Now I'm starting to use it a little bit and find it. So, and hopefully I'll be able to attend the next one coming up on April 25th. Hopefully, fingers, toes, hooves, everything crossed. But at one point in the server, is what I read, there was over 4,000 people. I think 4114 was, the peak at one point in the PonyFest Online server, which is absolutely incredible. So I applaud those individuals who was able to put together, like a week. Like they quickly put this idea together and made it happen. And my goodness, and there were a lot of familiar faces in the fandom as part of this, and there was musicians performing and all of this from the fandom, and some usual panelists. So it was from what I saw and read, it was a major success, and I'm so glad that those individuals stepped up and were able to do that in such a short amount of time. That's what amazes me the most of all of it, is that they were able to put it together in such a quick amount of time and pull it off all in one day. Like it was just all day that Saturday, the 28th of March, and they were able to cram so much into one day, which is absolutely, because again, you think of a convention, it's usually a 3 or 4 day event in some cases, but for all of that to happen in one day and with all those people in that server, it blows my mind. It's absolutely incredible. So kudos to everyone who is involved. Kudos to the attendees. Kudos to everyone who took part. That is absolutely incredible. So to give us in the fandom at least some sense of normalcy for us during these times is absolutely amazing. So thank you to everyone with PonyFest Online who did that, and I hopefully will get a chance to at least take some part in it on April 25th. I normally work on Saturdays, but again, who knows what the future holds. My schedule's already been changed a little bit just this week. In light of some hours getting edited and changed, but who's to say what my Saturdays are going to look like, at least for the next month or so. So who knows? I'm hoping that I can be more involved in it, but otherwise I'll at least be in a little bit of it, at least. So at least pop in and do some things in the server. So again, kudos to everyone with PonyFest Online, and I hope to again be a part of that on April 25th. So check it out on Discord. If you don't have a Discord, I highly recommend it. There's so many, you're bound to find a server that you're interested in. And I already found a few on there. So I haven't found a whole lot of people that. The one nitpick I have on Discord, the one nitpick I will say, and I've tweeted about this, is that it's hard for you to find the people you follow, say on like Facebook and Twitter, and move it over to Discord, because with Discord, you have to be identified not only by your username, but by your 4-digit tag. And unless you know the tag of the person you're trying to find, you're not going to find them. So Discord makes it incredibly hard for you to find people that unless you eventually find them in a server or a chat. you're not going to be able to friend request them. So it kind of makes it very difficult. So that's the only nitpick I have on Discord, is that it's very hard to add people that you know from fellow social media sites. So, but aside from that, I applaud Discord and PonyFest Online for what they're able to do. Okay, a couple more things real quick. Before everything shut down on March 12th, baseball was in the midst of its spring training. And we actually got a bit of a mascot makeover, if you will. So here's kind of the backstory in that. So one of the best mascots in Major League Baseball is the Philly Fanatic. And actually got to meet the Fanatic, actually, I think last year. When at the Mascot Hall of Fame induction weekend, when they brought back a lot of the already inductees in the hall to help welcome the new class of 2019. And of course, the Fanatic is one of the original inductees in the hall, because David Raymond, who came up with the idea for the Mascot Hall of Fame, was the original Fanatic. And I've mentioned up here how great an amazing guy Dave is, and he is, and you know, what a joy he was for me to talk to him and tell him my story. But the Fanatic, there was a lot of talk before the game started that he was going to get a new look, which of course, you know, he's had the same look for 20, 30 plus years. But there's a reason why they had to do this, because the original creators of the Fanatic's, I guess, look or design have had trademark rights to him. Now they've allowed the Phillies to, I guess, use him, you know, on like a yearly renewal basis, if you will. But after a certain period of time, that, I guess, permission or what have you, or trademark finally expired this year. And the Phillies were really worried that they would no longer be allowed to use, I guess, the current look, or even, you know, the Fanatic as a whole, as their mascot anymore, unless they paid these two individuals a probably good amount of money just to keep them, you know, to use the design. Well, sure enough, then a lot of talk got floated out there that the new look would be coming soon, and there would be some changes made. And so, of course, a lot of the people in Philly reacted to that, and they, of course, were not thrilled about that. So if you haven't seen, and again, okay. So let's see if I can get a good picture of this.
I think that the taxpayer should get the benefit of the upside. So, for instance, take the airlines.
Okay. So that's the new look, and really, it's not too different. There's, of course, a few subtle differences. You know, I think the eyebrows are a bit different. Of course, the big noticeable is that the tail is shorter. The tights are different. The shoes are different. So those are obviously the most notable differences. But for the most part, he's really not that different. The big question is going to be, is that going to be enough to satisfy these two individuals that, you know, that claim that, you know, that the team can, you know, keep using the mascot? That's going to be the big question whenever, you know, MLB starts back up again. You know, is that enough? And in this situation, like, I hate to, I guess, in this side, take the side of those individuals, because in that case, I'm going to say no, because I mean, it's like I said, there's really not, those are just like minor tweaks. Like those aren't really big changes. And I think that's kind of what these two people are expecting. Either you do something that's totally off the wall different, you know, or you don't use him. So I think they really were expecting like a big, massive change. And I don't think that's what we got here. Certainly if I were one of those two, I would say you didn't do much. Like you didn't do a whole lot to change him. So I don't know. I think this is still going to continue on. I don't think this is over just because of a few minor tweaks. I think this is going to continue on for quite some time. And again, as much as an icon and a mascot Hall of Famer, as he is deserved to be, as the Philly Fanatic is, I don't know. I really feel like this is going to drag on for at least a little while longer. I don't think this is enough. Certainly it was I applaud the Phillies in the attempt. Like I at least applaud them for that, but I don't think this is going to end just with that. I think, unless they really feel like, unless these two individuals really feel like, okay, you took away some things and he is sort of different. If that's enough in their eyes to satisfy that you're not using what we originally designed, then okay, then maybe they'll drop it and move on. But I really don't think that that's enough, because that's just aesthetics. That's not really altering, I guess, the nature of the beast itself. That's not really doing too much aside from the tail. That's not really, the rest of it's just aesthetics. It's not really altering much to the actual character. Now, certainly the personality doesn't change, because they said he was still being, that goofy, Fanatic self. And really the personality of a mascot is ingrained in the individual that does it. That's where that comes from. That's, the person that does it gives the mascot that personality. So that really isn't going to change. But, just doing aesthetics, mostly, is that enough to say, we're not using what you created? I don't know. That's an interesting debate. That's really, and to me, that's very, very debatable. If it were me, I would say it's probably like a 75-25 that I think it's not enough. And that again, that's just my opinion. That's my perspective, and other people's can be different. But I don't think that that's enough to validate, the fact that, yeah, you're still kind of using the idea. All you did was change a few minor things. So that's just the way I view that. So I don't know. I don't think it's over. I think there's still going to be a lot of debate and discussion and fight in this in the end. I don't think that's enough to satisfy those individuals. I don't know if they've released a statement on it. Obviously, again, it's not the biggest, issue with all this going on.
Live from America's News headquarters, I'm Jackie Ibanez in New York. President Trump is wrapping up his coronavirus task force briefing, discussing everything from the
Oh, here we go.
package, where he urged small
Okay, right here, Los Angeles Times. Okay. Philly Fanatic has a somewhat new look, but the original designers aren't amused. That this is what I thought. Not good enough. The Philly Fanatic is still green and fuzzy. He still has that awesome anteater-like tongue coming out of his snout. He's still got the attitude that once pushed Tommy Lasorda over the edge. He's still a literal fanatic of the Philadelphia Phillies. When the Fanatic made his 2020 debut during a spring training game against the Pirates, there were some notable changes in his appearance. He has slimmed down a bit. Okay, I didn't notice that. Although his backside is more pronounced, with a longer, brighter blue tail. Okay, it's longer. I thought it was shorter, but I don't know. I could be wrong. Socks and shoes are different colors, although they're actually not socks, they're tights. He has feathers coming out of the bottom of his arms, and his hands are now more human-like but covered by furry flaps. His eyes are surrounded by purple stars, just surrounded by bright blue fluff.
During some very, very difficult times.
But Wade Harrison and Bonnie Erickson, creators of the original Fanatic 41 years ago, are not amused. Last year, the Phillies filed a federal lawsuit to prevent Harrison Erickson Inc. from backing out of a 1984 agreement that transferred the rights of the character to the team forever for $215,000. According to the lawsuit, the company sent the Phillies a letter in June 2018 stating intention to make the Fanatic a free agent after June 15, 2020, unless the contract is renegotiated. The lawsuit was in its discovery phase. Harrison and Erickson released a statement this week that indicated, this is back in February, by the way, that indicated what they think of the so-called new Fanatic. The Phillies' lack of good faith in negotiating for an extension of the copyright assignment for the Philly Fanatic is disappointing, Harrison stated. But the unveiling of the so-called new Fanatic on Sunday is an affront to our intellectual property rights and the Phillies fans everywhere. Erickson added, the business decision by the Phillies to roll this new Fanatic is a transparent attempt to deny us our rights under of the Copyright Act. We would love to have the real Fanatic continue with the Phillies. So there you go. Of course, the team has no comment on the statement because of pending litigation. Some fans weren't happy with the mascot redesign with the hashtag #NotMyFanatic popping up on social media. So yeah, this is clearly not over. This is going to be a long, drag out thing that goes on, whether the new look, old look, whatever. This is going to go on for a while. So all I have to say is yikes. Now, my thoughts on the new look. I mean, I don't like it either because, again, I've had the nostalgic one in my mind for so long. But if you got to do what you got to do, I mean, to avoid a lawsuit, okay. But like I said, I had a feeling that it wasn't going to be good enough, and clearly it's not. So that's my thought on that. All right, last thing real quick. Indiana Beach update. There have been actually numerous updates on this. Obviously, ever since the original story came out, on a couple ATSDs long ago, we had the hour and a half reminiscing just on that alone of the closure of an iconic park in the state in my hometown, just where I grew up, just a few cities over from me from where I am now. There have been numerous stories that have happened since then. Of course, the rallies that have happened outside the park to save it have been noticed by Apex, who even though who technically they still own the park, even though it's no longer part of their portfolio, and they've closed it along with 3 other parks. They still have the rights to it. So, but it certainly those rallies got their attention. It got the attention of Monticello. It got the attention of White County business leaders, and they have been working together to attract potential buyers for the park. And there was rumors popping up that Fun Spot America was maybe interested. Actually, one of the CEO actually did come out and they did view the park, but then later said that it was not part of their plans in the future to buy any parks. So that was quickly eliminated. There have been other names popping up potentially, that were rumored. Now, granted, of course, because of confidentiality agreements and legalese, no one can actually say who is interested. So unless there's an actual official sale, we're not going to know who ends up buying the park or who's even interested. All the Apex has said and the business leader says that there are prospective buyers interested, and talks continue to be ongoing. So this episode has pretty much been all about hope with a lot of things. This is hope. This is hope for Indiana Beach in some regard. And Apex even said that if they find the right buyer, that it could possibly be open this year. Now, granted, again, with this crisis, with the pandemic going on, I don't even know if that's remotely possible. But hey, at least this is hope. Like this, at least when it seemed like at first like there'd be no hope at all, considering it was going to be closed down permanently. In fact, actually, some of the stuff has already been sold off on auctions. Like there have been games already that have been sold off. I've read this online and on social media. So there's been stuff already that's been sold off. So it makes you wonder now, if they're looking at buyers, I'm sure hopefully they've halted some of that by now, but it's like, you already sold some of this stuff off. So, granted, there's been no sale yet, but just the fact that there's buyers that are interested now, you got to think then the way that the rallies worked, like they really got the attention of some prospective buyers. It showed how much the park means to that city and that community, and it does. Appledash and I said as much when we reminisced on that, in that ATSD episode, of how much the park meant not just to us, but to the city of Monticello and the community that it's in, and the entire state of Indiana. Tourism, the money that park makes and the campgrounds make for the city of Monticello is massive. It is their big, rock. Granted, they have other things for tourism purposes. They have the lakes, they have that, but aside from that, it's kind of like Hero Park. There's not much to do, especially in summer, and that was the big draw for Monticello. So I'm glad at least that the rallies were able to do something to get Apex's attention and say, wow, clearly, and I don't want to say, I don't want to use the word like underestimated. I don't want to think that Apex Parks underestimated how much Indiana Beach means to that city and to that community and to that area. But maybe they did. When Apex bought this, they were in a spot where they had to rescue it from what Morgan did to it, because Morgan completely, I hate to use this dark terminology, but Morgan nearly killed it. Like, Morgan RV nearly killed Indiana Beach because, again, they had no idea how to run an amusement park. When they bought it from the Spatman family, they only wanted the campgrounds, and that's it, because that was their bread and butter. They knew how to do campgrounds and how to run them. They were RV resorts. That was their thing. But Spatman said, no, either you buy everything or you're not gonna, or we're looking elsewhere where you're not gonna be part of this. So they did, and they really had to learn, I guess, on the fly, and they really did not do much of anything right. They reversed everything that had made the park successful, and then Apex had to swoop in and try to take it out of the hole it was already in, and they just, in the end, they just made it worse because they tried to recoup all the lost money, and they try to make you buy a season pass every year and jack up the admission prices. And, you couldn't even just walk around anymore without paying an exuberant fee. It didn't work. And so, but again, I guess in a sense, I applaud Apex for at least them realizing now this is important. It's important to the city. It's important to the community. It's important to the state. This is a big deal. Which then makes me wonder why the same thing isn't happening with Fantasy Island in New York, because they also closed down at the same time, or the other locations closed down at the same time. But again, Apex is realizing, this place has been around for a long time, more than almost 100 years, and it really mattered to the people that worked there, to the people that went there every summer, to the campers that were there year round. It mattered to them, and they finally got the wake up call. And they saw, all these people coming out and supporting it with these rallies. Like, okay, and then that awoke prospective buyers, and they're like, let's talk at the table, the best way we can, virtually or what have you. Let's reconsider a bit. Before we do anything rash, let's talk and reconsider some things. And then what really I think was a big win for me is that White County then agreed with the incentive package deal, the $3 million. Wait, was it million or was it billion? I think it was million. But I'll double check that because I don't want to give out incorrect information.
So here we have a situation where our direct support is to the American people themselves.
It was million. Okay, so so a $3 million incentive package for a potential buyer. So here's the story. This is from March 18th. To make the close down in Indiana Beach more attractive to potential buyers, White County is offering a $3 million incentive. In a dual meeting Tuesday, the commissioners and the county council each voted in favor of a resolution offering that incentive, which will be funded by the White County Wind Farm Economic Development Fund. So they took the money that was going to be originally going to the wind farms and now put it toward this incentive for a prospective buyer of Indiana Beach. County Commissioner David Diener said no taxpayer money will be used in the incentive if it's done this way. That money was collected from the wind farms coming into White County to spur economic growth elsewhere, said Attorney Rick Hall, who the county hired for his expertise in economic development financing. There's no time limit on the incentives. This is also important. There's no time limit on this. So if the amusement park doesn't get a buyer this summer, the $3 million could still be available in the fall, which is also good as long as this pandemic continues. But I would not expect it to drag out, though, said Commissioner Heimlich. Tuesday's resolution also has stipulations on the sale and on awarding the money to a potential purchaser. White County will only award an Indiana Beach buyer the money after the purchase deal was closed and Indiana Beach is legally sold. So they're not going to do this until sign on the dotted line, it's done, it's set in stone. The county has also contacted the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, or IEDC, about giving it financial assistance toward attracting a buyer. And for every dollar it contributes, there'll be $1 less of White County's $3 million payout. So should IEDC offer $1 million, White County will be obligated to pay $2 million. The resolution also gives the commissioners the ability to negotiate with a buyer before finding the incentive, including requiring the buyer to operate Indiana Beach as an amusement park for a designated time after purchase. The terms of the final agreement will also be made public because of government money being used.
We needed more ships. We needed more airplanes. We needed more tanks. We needed advanced capabilities. There's a laundry list of things.
Yeah, and listen to this. A 2002 Purdue University economic impact study estimated total benefits of more than $60 million annually generated by tourism to White County, a major portion of which is directly attributable to Indiana Beach.
And we cut it dramatically so. So when this president took over, Mark, we were really in trouble. And the American people conversant with that because the previous administration.
But the county is not involved in immediate negotiations and doesn't know the asking price for Indiana Beach or how many potential buyers there might be. He also said that although Indiana Beach itself is owned by Apex and the land it's on is owned by Storemaster, registered in Indiana as a foreign limited liability company in Scottsdale, Arizona, the sale of the amusement park would include the property. Storemaster was created as a business in April 2015, 5 months before Apex bought Indiana Beach on September 1st, 2015. And of course, Apex is being silent on this whole thing. Attempts to contact them by numerous organizations have not been successful, though. So they're doing their negotiating at the table. They're not talking to the media about any of this. So they're letting the negotiating do the talking, which I guess is fine. They obviously now feel like, the city wants to get a deal done. The county wants to get a deal done with somebody, and Apex, realizes that now. So if they find the right person or persons, they wanted them. So, and now the incentive package will help immensely in that. So again, I applaud the city and county for working together on this. I applaud Apex for realizing, finally how important this is for the city and the county's tourism and the economic impact. And here again is hoping that something emerges out of this, because, it would just, because again, as Appledash and I mentioned, it would just be so odd to, have a summer without that, especially we've never experienced that in our lives. And it would just be such, just a weird set of circumstances to have that. So yeah, I guess I didn't plan this way, but the theme of this episode really was hope. Hope that that we manage COVID-19 better. Hope that that conventions can still thrive and succeed. Even once this is over. And hope for Indiana Beach going forward. that's, keeping a positive outlook on things, even when, the darkness seems to surround us on all sides. There's always a light somewhere. There's always a light you can find somewhere and hold on to. And that's my hope. That's my hope for the country. That's my hope for conventions. That's my hope for Indiana Beach. And that's my hope for you. And just continue over these next, few weeks, especially these next few weeks, but especially over the months ahead, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and look out for each other and do your part, be all in, and together we will win to eventually get back to a semblance of normalcy. You keep, keep doing keep doing the things you need to do, social distancing, the washing, the hand sanitizing, keep doing those things. And I have a firm belief that we eventually will get there. So I thank you all for your patience and understanding in my hiatus. I again, I want to at least keep this going for as long as I can, and I intend to do that. And so hopefully here in 2 weeks or so, I'll hopefully have more content. I know there'll be hopefully more soapboxes, so I'll have that. And I will find content in any way I can, because I at least want to, of course, keep this going as well. So here, hopefully in a few weeks, I'll be back for episode 43. So just stay tuned. Again, again, thank you for the likes. Thank you for the views and support as always. You all are absolutely incredible. For those that stuck around, subscribing, thank you. I cannot tell you how much, as always, that support means to me. So spread the word. Again, social media as well. Twitter mostly, I'm on there. Now I'm using Discord a little bit more, Instagram occasionally. You know where to find me. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for the support. And hopefully we'll see you again in 2 weeks for episode 43 of According to Spiky Dash. Have a great night. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Stay safe. God bless all of you. Good night.
And this was the president just being political. I found this out.